Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm very excited to have Philip Wesley here. He's a legend in the New Age community, and it's just a privilege to have him here tonight. I've heard so much about him. I love his music. We're going to play a lot of it tonight. Just absolutely gorgeous stuff. And I have to admit, I still know nothing about his real background. We're going to explore that all tonight, but I do know that he puts a lot out there on his website. He's got a blog that talks about chord structure, his compositions. If you ever want to spend, he's got at least stuff back to 2017. Welcome, Philip. Thanks for joining tonight.
Hi, who am I talking to? Who's out there?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
there's a bunch of people, new people I
I'm
don't
Steve.
normally
I'm Steve
recognize.
Kevel.
Yeah.
I'm Lisa. I'm your fan from Las Vegas.
Oh, hi, Lisa.
Wow.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. It's so awesome. I can't believe this is actually happening. You do these Zoom videos. It's really, really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good to see everybody.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Angelique from upstate New York. My son is a big fan and he plays your music a lot, and we love it.
Hi, Angelique.
Oh,
Nice to
that's
meet you.
wonderful. So, Philip, tell us a bit about your background. When you grew up, were your parents walking around singing arias, and was your father walking around the house playing a violin, or like some people come from no background, some come from a line of pianists. I'd be interested in how you grew up.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the very beginning when I was born.
Okay.
The my mother tells me that when I was old enough to sit in a high chair and feed myself, she would put headphones on and she'd play the Beatles, and I would bang my spoons on the tray.
Wow.
I don't know that I kept time, but I got really animated and seemed to enjoy it.
Wow.
My father, my biological father, who's long since passed,
Oh,
he
sorry.
uh, he played the drums. He was a drummer. He didn't
Hmm.
play professionally. He just played for the fun of it. One of my earliest childhood memories is I remember being at my grandmother's house and standing at the top of the basement stairs, and my dad was down there playing the drums, and I would hold my ears because it was so loud and it was
Oh my
so
God.
scary. They're like, "Go say hi to your dad," and I'm like, "No, I ain't going down there."
Mm.
So my father was a drummer. I don't really think I have any other musicians in the family. I do
Mm.
have some other relatives that are really great visual artists that can paint really well and draw really well. But I was an athlete growing up, starting in first grade, 6 years old. I was playing soccer.
See, I'm
And,
here.
I played soccer for,
That's
I
why.
guess it was first grade through
Oh yeah, it's not on. The
sixth
camera's
grade.
not on.
Well, you know what? I'm going to mute people for a minute. Hang on a second.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And then I'm going to have to ask you to unmute because I muted everybody. So, so folks, please keep your mutes, your cell phones, your microphones off for now, so we can have this interview, and then we can join in with Q&A at the end. Thanks.
I see Lou. Hi, Lou. um, so yeah, I played soccer starting in first grade, 6 years old, all the way up till about seventh grade, and then I switched to football for like 4 years.
Mm.
But I got injured a lot, and
Ooh.
so I decided to take up something a little less physical. Well, maybe a different kind of physical. I picked up music, and I was 16 years old, and I was a teenager in the 80s, so MTV was really big back then.
Oh yeah.
And I remember watching, some of the different music videos, and this one video came on, and the guitar player, was playing his guitar like a violin,
Mm.
and I'm like, how is he doing that?
Yeah.
Of course, hindsight, it wasn't a he wasn't playing a violin. Obviously, he was playing a guitar, but it sounded like a cello.
Yeah.
So the video was called "Still of the Night" by Whitesnake. I don't know if you remember that from the
Mm.
80s,
Hmm.
but I was just so fascinated by that, and I just decided one day at 16 years old that I was going to not play sports anymore, and I wanted to play music. And of course, every teenage boy wants to play guitar or play the drum. They want to rock. Of course, my
Right.
mother was like, "Oh, I want you to play the piano." I'm like, "I don't want to play the piano." So I was a very serious guitar student, mostly self-taught
Huh.
for the first 4 years or so. So starting in 1987, playing guitar, and by the time I got to college and picked a major, which my degree is in music therapy, and I practiced as a board certified music therapist for almost a decade.
Mm.
I found out in college, not only did I have to be proficient on guitar, but I also had to be proficient on the piano. And I'm like, well, here you go, Mom. You're going to get your wish. I'm going to learn how to play the piano. And I took, all the college. I took all the music theory classes and the class keyboard and the applied music. And I had 4 years of applied music on jazz guitar, where I had to actually go all semester and learn these jazz songs, and then I had to sit in front of music professors and play what I learned. Talk
Wow.
about intimidating. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's more intimidating in playing in front of groups of large people, or if it's playing in front of two music professors that have PhDs in
Yes.
music.
Yes.
But so that's what I did, and then one day I'm sitting in one of my music piano classes in college, and the piano classes were group classes, so you were kind of on your own unless you had questions, and then you could raise your hand and ask the piano teacher if she could help you with anything.
Yeah.
And I remember the advanced students were sitting in the front, and us newbies were sitting in the back. And I remember hearing this music coming from the front of the room, and I'm like, "What is that?" I'm like,
Mm.
"That is beautiful, whatever that is." And so I discovered this was probably around 1991 to
Mm.
discovered this whole genre of music that the music business likes to call new age music. I'm not really crazy about the term, but that's the
Yeah.
box.
What do you like to call it? Adult
Well,
contemporary, maybe, or?
I would say just modern piano.
Mm. Hmm.
It's not really
Yeah.
jazz, it's not really classical, but it's
Right.
instrumental, and so it kind of falls in this modern contemporary box.
Yeah.
Um, But I just remember being so enthralled with it and wanting to just learn all I could about the genre. And
Mm.
uh, I just took to it. And before I knew it, I was starting to play more and more piano than I was guitar. And the guitar just kind of fell by the wayside in terms of being a serious student.
Mm.
But it was a good musical foundation for me because I learned a lot. And I remember I used to teach myself how to read treble clef and guitar tablature. So I taught myself songs on the guitar by, of course, this is back before the internet. I think I had cassettes at the time, so you had to like listen to the cassette. I'd listen to a few seconds and then I'd pause it and I'd find it on the guitar and then I'd notate it in guitar tablature
Wow.
to learn entire songs that way.
Hmm.
And so I had that foundation going into learning the piano. All I had to learn was the bass clef, which was pretty
Mm.
easy. I just learned everything, you had to move everything basically a step down or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But so I picked up on it really quick.
Mm.
So I didn't start playing piano until I was 20.
No
Uh,
kidding. Wow.
yeah. And I'm 25 now. So I mean, go figure.
You did a lot because there are some pieces you play that are truly,
Yeah.
uh, really complicated things. Some of the
Yeah.
runs you do they're not easy. So I'm listening to it going, well, this guy's good.
Yeah.
So,
I would my music is intermediate, but there's a scale of intermediate. There's really easy intermediate and then really
yeah,
advanced intermediate.
yeah,
I've done that on purpose just because um, I wanted the music to be accessible to a lot of people. Anybody that was like a newbie just starting out that could work
right.
to it, or the people that are pros that can pick up on it like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So so yeah, I started playing piano when I was 20 in college, and
Mm.
then I graduated and I started working as a music therapist. But all along that time, I was still doing my music um, kind of behind the scenes,
Yeah.
for myself. And then one day, I just decided to start writing, recording, and releasing music. And this was probably around 2000, early 2003. Back then, I was living in St. Louis, Missouri, which is where I'm originally from.
Mm.
I live in Nashville, Tennessee now. But in St. Louis at the time, in 2003, they had Borders Books and Music, if you remember Borders Books and Music, and
Sure.
every Friday and Saturday they would have music night where local acts would come in and play, and it was all kinds of different music. It could be singer songwriter, it could be country, it could be bluegrass, but there was
Mm.
really only one person that I was seeing that was doing the solo piano thing, and that was me at the time in the area. And so I would, and it was like perfect because it's a bookstore, you know. I was at the time I was playing some pretty quiet piano music, and so it was like a good fit. And I remember going in and I would hand them CDs, and then they would just hand me, you know, they buy on the spot however many CDs they want to buy, and then they would sell them in the store. And I was constantly promoting myself through retail spaces.
Yeah.
And one
Yeah.
one of the interesting things about retail spaces is that it's in a way it's almost like you're doing in real time market research. You're able to figure out what gets people's attention, what people like, and
Yeah.
what people don't like. Because whenever I would play certain songs, people would come up to me and they'd go, "What is that?"
Yes.
And this kept happening over and over and over. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is really interesting.
Mm.
What is it about these songs, this particular songs, that keep drawing people in? It's almost like fishing. You know, you're like, I'm going to throw
Mm.
this out there and see what happens, you know, that
Yeah.
type of thing. And so I thought, well, there's this one song that I used to play. It was on my first album, my album Finding Solace. There's a song called Lamentations of the Heart.
Mm.
And I used to always get noticed for that song. And I thought, well, what would it be like if I wrote a whole album of that type of music?
Oh, wow.
So I kind of had that idea. I put it on the shelf because I was working on some other material.
Mm.
And later on, I came back to that and I wrote, uh, this was probably 2008. I wrote and released the album I'm most known for is Dark Night of the Soul.
Yeah.
And,
Great album.
and it's really a deeply emotional album that people really seem to connect with.
We're
A
going to
lot
play some of those songs tonight. Yeah,
a
definitely.
lot of minor keys,
Mm.
lots going on. Some of
Hmm.
the songs are really long. They take time to kind of develop and breathe.
Hmm.
Um, but it was just really fascinating to me to play retail spaces. I also would throw in some shopping malls during the holidays too, because there's usually a lot of foot
I
traffic.
love it. I love it. You
But
told me when pre-interview, you said that you play so much your fingers would get numb. I think
yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God.
there were times. I mean, playing retail spaces like that, especially shopping malls during the
Yeah.
holidays, you want to get
Yeah.
the most bang for your buck. So you're there all day sitting and playing. And it's really hard if you're doing it by yourself.
Right.
You know, there's nobody else there. If you like team up with another pianist that can relieve you and you can take turns. I've done that
Right.
before too. But
Right.
my fingertips would actually be bruised. My back would be hurting.
Oh my God.
My sciatica would be acting up. So yeah, that was a challenge, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do this forever,
Mm.
playing malls like this.
Yeah.
Well, just so happened that during this time, um, retail sales, especially for like CD sales, I mean, who buys CDs anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time in the early to mid 2000s where you could sell a lot of CDs doing that, and then
Right.
it started to wane. And it's like the book "Who Moved My Cheese." Well, you know, the cheese became streaming. And so
Yes.
when streaming came along, the streaming companies were looking for content to play. And so a lot of my music got sucked up into the streaming platforms and
Mm.
it just took off. It
Wow.
exploded.
Wow.
I mean, and again, you got to remember too, I mean, I got started long before Spotify and YouTube and
Yes.
Pandora and
Yeah.
music and all these other things. So I was already doing this for quite a while, working on this craft, and so it was kind of like the right place at the right time with the right music. If
Yeah.
you
And what year was that where the streaming just started to take off and that you
would
became?
say, probably for me, it was probably about late 2009, early 2010, somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, people are eager to listen to your music. I'm getting people saying, I want to hear this, I want to hear that. Let's start with something. I know we didn't talk about this, but just today, but I happen to notice on your YouTube channel, you got this beautiful video. We probably won't listen to all of it, but In Your Eyes. You want to talk a little bit about what was behind that story, what be that behind that piece
yeah.
of music?
So "In Your Eyes" is from my album called Beyond Cloud Nine, and over the years, I would have fans ask me, "Hey, do you have any romantic wedding songs? I want to use something in my wedding." And well, they certainly don't want to play Dark Night of the Soul at their wedding. So I started working on this album, Beyond Cloud Nine, and it's got all these kind of lush romantic
Oh my God, yeah.
and so that's one of these songs. It's basically about, you know, looking into the eyes of the person that you love. So
Right. Let's check it out. Just beautiful. Oh my God. Um, how did you go about getting the setup with the ballerina and all that? That's really very, very
Yeah.
wonderful.
One of my colleagues' students suggested that stage. It's at MTSU here in the Nashville area. They had a
Yeah.
beautiful grand piano, and the videographer actually knew a dancer, and he kind of came up with the whole concept, and I was open to it. So yeah,
Hmm. Excellent.
yeah,
Well, we were talking about the Dark Night of the Soul. Now, is the Approaching Night one of those pieces, one of those
yeah,
tracks? That's one
yes.
of my favorite tracks. I just absolutely love. And you know, a
Something
lot of this stuff.
funny about that song is
Yeah,
that since I recorded it, I've never played it.
you're kidding me.
I've never played it live, and it's like one of my most popular songs.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
It just
Yeah.
goes to show you don't know what people are going to connect with.
Well, you know, not only your songs are moving and emotional, but there's also a wonderful intellectual structure to them. And so when you come up with your music, do you think of it intellectually, or do you kind of do it and then afterwards analyze it, or how do you go about approaching your music?
Yeah, I tend to be a little bit of a noodler, and I kind of just like noodle around until I find a pattern. I see patterns on the piano.
Yeah,
I was just saying that I just saw this like pattern develop in the left hand, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. What kind of melody would go with that? And
yeah,
so almost kind of like a jazz player, you're kind of vamping in the left hand, and then you're improvising a melody over the top. Well, it
yeah,
kind of started out that way. And as the song progressed, I kind of saw in my head where I wanted it to go because I visually look at the keyboard and see these patterns.
mm,
And and so that's one of those songs that starts off really quiet and soft, and then it just develops and it grows and expands and expands and expands, and then it contracts back to where it began.
yeah.
I really love that song. It's one of
Oh,
my
it's a
favorites.
gorgeous piece. All right, so
Yeah.
let's play this now. This is coming right off your website. I love the fact that some of these songs can be played right off the website.
Yeah.
So this is right off the website. We'll listen to it now.
Yeah. And I don't really analyze it until after it's done.
Uh-huh. Well, you're all going to hate me for stopping it, but we got so much to cover tonight.
That's a
Philip, I don't
really
know if,
that's a
huh?
really long song.
Oh, but Philip, there's people saying these wonderful things. Jennifer said, this is one of my faves of all your stunningly beautiful music, Mr. Wesley. It brings tears each time I hear it
Oh,
because of how deep it touches my soul. It's just
oh, that's
wonderful.
beautiful.
So, Jennifer, I want to save you from crying today. I had it. And then Marissa said, Dark Night of the Souls was the first album I ever bought, and I found rather. And yes, I bought the CD. And someone said, Angel said, my son loves playing this one. So that's great. You sell the sheet music too to these. So
I do.
it's really beautiful.
Yeah,
So,
a big part of the fan base is not only people that listen, but also people that play.
yeah, yeah, excellent. I'm going to just ask someone to mute here. Hang on a second. Um, the next one we're going to play is Haunted Past. And that's, I think, from the same album, right?
That one's from Transcend.
Oh, is it? Okay. Any backstory on this before I play it?
You know, kind of Dark Night of the Soul and Hope Endures are, I should say, yeah, that Hope Endures, Dark Night of the Soul, and Transcend are all kind of part of a trilogy of albums. So
Yeah.
Dark Night of the Soul, the whole premise of that album is kind of like this musical allegory for a journey through, deep emotional pain and suffering, and coming
Yeah.
out on the other side, kind of
Right.
into the light and a new day. And then Hope Endures is the flip side of that, and Transcend is about rising above all of it
Ah,
and
excellent.
forward with your life. Haunted Past, we all have a past. We all have things that we've done that we're not proud of. And the best thing we can do is to push forward and just live the best life we can.
Well, I'm going to play this all the way through. Haunted Past. Absolutely gorgeous and haunting, as the
B
name implies.
minor. Nothing
Yeah.
like B minor, huh? B minor and 3/4 time. It had a nice waltz tempo.
Yeah. Now, what I love about the minor key too is you're allowed to use all these little half steps in the middle of the
Yeah.
scale, which is makes it very bittersweet. And it's really a beautiful thing
I
key.
would say, yeah, I would say minor keys are definitely a favorite.
Yeah.
Not really a big modal guy. I don't write a lot of modal music. I tend to stick to either Aeolian mode or Ionian mode. I just
Hmm.
I just love those. So
Yeah. Just beautiful. So let's see, what else do we talk about? With this, there's so many pieces to play. We're going to talk about Light and Shadow next,
yeah, I
which
love
is
that one.
down here. Yeah. And that's coming off which album?
Dark Night of the Soul.
So let's listen to this now. And it's a long one, so maybe we'll cut it a little bit short if that's okay.
Sure, sure.
Okay. Just amazing. I have to ask you, because I write some music, but I have a difficult time writing lots of music. And for me, I just don't know how you get so inspired to write all this amazing material. You just sit down at the piano and you noodle around, you come up with these ideas.
Yeah,
It's just incredible.
I just noodle around until I find
Yeah.
something I like, whether it's a pattern or a melody or
Hmm.
um, I'm left-handed, so it usually begins in the left hand.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that song. That's just another example of another minor key piece.
Oh my God, this stuff is so soulful, and
Yeah,
I think I see a couple of people even looking at the sheet music while they're listening to this,
yeah,
which is,
yeah,
but that could be fun too.
yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just so soulful and beautiful, and I almost hate to examine it, because it's so precious. But it is fun to think about how you do these things, and some of the ones I'm going to play up ahead, I think you
I
have
tend to use a
especially
lot
fun
of
with.
descending bass lines too. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of a pattern that I use sometimes.
I've actually played around with one of them. Let's see, or I think the Dark Night of the Soul. I just love that bass line, and I've thought about what would I do on top of it. It's just kind of fun to experiment with it. It's just a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
So this next one is a real tearjerker, Lamentations of the Heart. So we're going to play that now. So get out the tissue paper, folks, and be ready. Put your seatbelt on because this is amazing.
That was one of those songs I was telling you about playing retail spaces where people would just go, "What is that?"
Yeah.
It kept happening over and over and over, and I'm like, I need to do an entire album like that. So
You know, when people came up to me, they come to me and say, "What is that piece?" I'll say, "It's some guy named Celentano." They said, "I've never heard of him." I said, "It's me." But this is just absolutely gorgeous. And I love the interplay between your hands. You have this wonderful flow that's just beautiful. So for someone that's actually mostly self-taught on the piano, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you would think you had many years of classical, heavy training from this. It's just phenomenal. It's really, really beautiful. I'd like to play about four more pieces, but we've only got 20 minutes. I may play little bits of these pieces, and at the risk of their fans killing me, I'm going to do the next one I'm going to do is Dark Night of the Soul, but I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's
it's a
seven
long,
over
yeah,
minutes. But this is one that has this very interesting bass line that I had a lot of fun thinking about. What would I do over it? It's just it's
yeah.
enticing
Yeah, and this is the piece I was
yeah.
telling you about that starts off very slow. It's got this slow burn and before it just expands into this big full-blown piece and then it contracts how it began.
Yeah, very nice. Dark Night of the Soul. wish I could lower the volume on this. I don't have control of that on this platform, but I would generally just lower the volume so it'll
Yeah.
go away. It just there's so much more to it. It's a gorgeous piece. I love the way you move between the part A, part B. It almost seems seamless. How do you go about thinking of those part Bs or the sections of the piece? Is there
Well,
a
yeah, I mean, this particular song, as I've probably said before, is that at a keyboard, piano keyboard, I see patterns.
yeah,
So after the initial left hand part and the melody coming in, I kind of my brain just was looking at the keyboard. I'm like, okay, now I know where I wanted to go next. I wanted to play scale pattern. I wanted to in the left hand, I wanted to do this type of accompaniment. And then I wanted to do full blown arpeggios up and down the
yeah.
keyboard left
Mm,
hand. It was really weird how that song came to me because not every song comes to me like that.
yeah.
I just it's every song is different. They all have their own process.
Well, you
That
have a
song
gift, my friend. Yeah, that's just
that
wonderful.
that one came really quickly. I
Mm.
wish they all came that easy and that quickly because they
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. So I'm going to back up a little bit and do Unbridled Spirit because that's another favorite of mine. And again, I won't play the whole thing because we only have about what 14 minutes left. And I want to do a couple more things here, but let's play a little of this. Just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now the
That's
next piece,
another waltz tempo, and this one's in A minor. I just love
mm.
the raw feeling to these emotional feeling of these
Now this
songs.
one is very regular in its beat. There were some pieces you played that were very kind of flowing and less regular. How do you get those turned into sheet music? Because I imagine do you do it yourself or do you have? Because I know that the systems probably get confused if the meter gets too rubato or whatever.
Yeah, I have no patience for piano notation. I usually farm that out to a transcriptionist that can help me with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do the same
They're
thing.
way more talented in that area than I
Yeah,
would ever be.
yeah. I send my stuff off to England. They do
I
a pretty good job.
what's funny is I have no patience for notating it, but once they notate it and send it back to me, which is usually pretty quick, I'm able to sight read it and make little notes and find little mistakes. And
Yes.
Then I'll send it back and they can fix them. And then I'll like have another third pair of eyes look at it and say, what do you think? Do you see
Oh,
anything?
good. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Usually a piano teacher can help me with that.
that's wonderful.
But yeah, what
And
was your
I'd like
original?
to play. Go ahead.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. I'd
Yeah.
like to play this. This is only a 2 minute piece, less traveled, because I love the way it
Yeah.
starts out with this deep chord and this ostinato. It's really quite interesting
Yeah.
musically.
That's a pretty short one.
I'm fascinated by what dictates how long a piece can be. I mean, Chopin, for example, is famous for writing these very long pieces and some wonderful miniatures. Wrote one prelude that's only like 2 stabs long. I think it was an A minor. And you're going, well, how did you decide it was over? So that's an interesting question, I guess, for musicians.
John Cage with his, sits there for 10 minutes in silence or whatever that piece is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you know, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if you caught it at the beginning of that song. There was a little bit of studio magic. And there was the root note. The song's in D minor, and
Hmm.
the initial root note is a backwards note.
How do you mean backwards? Oh,
So,
it's actually recorded backwards.
so
Ah,
it was recorded and then played in reverse.
yes, yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Now, this next one really showcases your keyboard mastery. It's called Racing Against the Sunset. And I'll
Wow.
just play, well, I guess I could play all of it. Racing Against the Sunset. This is just really a wonderful start. So let me find that on here.
Yeah, that's a galloping piece.
Yeah. very interesting effects in it. Some modulations, great finger work. I mean, it's a great practice piece.
And if you want to get a cramp in your hand, play that song.
Oh my God, yes. Now, one other piece I want to fit in here because it's got some wonderful big. You mentioned arpeggios earlier. Some big arpeggios here. Gypsy. So
Yeah.
I'd like to play Gypsy here. I think it's up a little bit. I think I skipped it.
Yeah, I wanted to write something since a lot of piano players like to play my music. I wanted to play something that might be a little reminiscent about something you might learn at a piano lesson from a piano teacher. Something that's also a little bit different from other stuff that I've written.
Yeah.
There's a lot of arpeggios in it, sweeping arpeggios in the beginning, but there's also a lot of staccato notes, which I rarely do staccato in my music. A lot of my music is very flowing, but this one, if you like staccato,
This
one's
is the
for you.
piece. I love it. Bravo. Bravo.
That's a pretty dramatic piece, wasn't it?
Oh my God. Someone said, I'm studying Gypsy currently for spring recital. Oh,
Nice.
wow. That's that's incredible. That's great. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much for your time. Now that we're going to open to the floor, ask people to unmute themselves. I'd love to, Philip, ask you a few questions. I'm going to ask one to start, which is, what's the best way for people to support you and your music? Is it to go to your site, philipwesley.com, or is it to, other things in terms of
Yeah.
where to buy your music?
Yeah, directly from the artist is always
Yeah.
better, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. My official website, philipwesley.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Wesley, first and foremost, I want to thank you for letting us know I found out through threads that you were having this interview so that we could all join and listen to the questions. And thank you for how incredible your music was in helping me through a very dark period of my life.
Yeah.
Dark Night of the Soul in particular, which is why it's one of my favorites. Just your music touches me in a way that only Beethoven's can. And
Wow.
for people who are music aficionados, I hope that speaks for itself.
Mm,
Wow. Well,
yeah.
that's quite an honor because I'm nowhere near Beethoven.
That's
Well,
beautiful.
If it wasn't for you guys, I would just be another dude sitting in his living room playing for his dogs.
the way that you build on small motivic is very similar to how
Yeah.
Beethoven
Yeah.
would build
Yeah.
his sonatas, his symphonies, his concertos, and
Mhm.
it would always start with a simpler idea that he would build on. And in fact, when the gentleman there was asking how you compose, the way
Mm.
you were describing it sounds very much like how Beethoven would, compose as well. So it's very similar. I wanted to ask, I've been doing piano lessons. I had to halt for my interior design program I'm doing right now, but
Mm.
when I go back in, my difficulty I have with piano is I have a hard time playing simultaneously left hand with the right hand, the bass and the treble. Do you have any recommendations in particular for how to kind of coordinate that better? I don't know if that makes sense how I'm asking that.
Yeah, yeah, because you're doing two different things, one in each
Mm.
hand. It takes a lot of coordination to be able to do that at the same time, especially when you're doing two different things in your hands. So I get it. I always tell people when they're trying to learn my music in particular, in regards to that, is isolate one measure, play the right hand or the left hand, whichever, play them separately,
Mm.
slowly, and then play them up to speed, and then try bringing the hands together and just
Mhm.
it just takes practice.
Yeah.
There's really no other word for it. Is
If I can add two
it's
other
practice.
things, because you're
But
doing two things at once.
yeah, I was going to
Okay.
say maybe a piano teacher or another pianist might have
Yeah.
more insight into that too.
I like your idea. I do. Some teachers don't believe you should practice separately, but I absolutely believe each hand separately. And then when you try to put them together, don't try to play it at that same speed because now you're trying to process twice as much information. So play it at half the speed when you're trying to put it
Right.
together. And the other
Okay.
thing I would recommend is look for the places where the fingers coordinate together. So sometimes there's a
Sure.
certain beat where the third finger and the fourth finger of the other hand play together. Find those anchor
Yeah,
points, and that will help you with the piece,
yeah,
I
that's a
believe.
good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote that down. Thank you so much for that. And
Oh,
I didn't realize that your Dark Night of the I mean, I love all your albums, but Dark Night of the Soul for me, just the whole album start to finish, every single song. I
mhm.
didn't know that the sheet music was available in a whole piano book to purchase, so
Yeah.
I will be buying that for myself. So thank you for
Yeah.
that very much.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, I have two different versions of that. I've got a PDF version that you get instantly, or you can get the printed version, which I ship to you.
Okay, I'd probably be doing the printed version so that I can have
Okay.
it up on my keyboard to learn it.
Good.
So, Mr. Wesley, thank you so much and for your music and your gift to the world with it. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. I
That's
appreciate it.
wonderful. Jennifer,
I
I'm
think,
really moved that helped you so much. That's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
and the thing about the books too, the printed books, is they have a spiral bound spine, so it makes page turning really easy.
Oh,
I cannot tell you how it is to buy a book, to break the binding on it to get it to lay flat. I intentionally made it a spiral bound spine so that you can easily turn the page, and it's
that's
a usually
wonderful.
plastic coil. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Okay, thank you so much. And I did notice, I don't know, Mr. Wesley, if you still follow me on Facebook or not, but years ago, I started following you. I don't know if you remember me by my name or not, but probably have a lot of fans. But anyway,
Jennifer
Where
Landiger?
are you in, Jennifer?
Landanger.
Landanger. Yeah.
What,
Thank
what
you,
state
Jennifer.
what state are you
Yes,
in, Jennifer?
I'm in Washington. I'm in Seattle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah. Again, I'll let somebody else have their time, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. Very touched by your presence here tonight. Thank you so much. So
Can I say something?
sure.
Hi.
Hi. I just want to thank you so much for doing this. I was so excited. I couldn't wait till 4:30 to get here.
Uh-huh.
I first heard your music. My brother lives in Santa Barbara. He's a photographer. And years ago, he did this, like he rented a room and he had like all charcoal stuff. And it was really like bizarre, but beautiful. And I heard the music for the very first time. And I'm like, who is that? And then I followed you since then. I have all your music. The Dark Night of the Soul album is my absolute favorite.
Hmm.
Your music has really helped me
Thank you.
emotionally.
Well, I
Get
wrote it really during a
helpful.
dark period in my life too, so I figured if it
Hmm.
would help me, it would help other people too. So
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
it's beautiful. And I just want to thank you, for your music for doing something like this. You don't usually get to talk to famous people or anything, and it just makes us feel, that your fans are important to you.
well, absolutely. Like I said, if it wasn't for you guys, I'd be just sitting in my living room playing for my dogs. I'm glad there's ears out there listening.
Lisa, that's very sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I
So
have a
what's next for
question.
you? You have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I wish there was a video of your hands on the keyboard playing these pieces, because when I listen to Dark Night of the Soul, I hear your left hand doing these arpeggio figures. They're almost like Alberti bass, but not really that. And the
Yeah,
right hand is playing.
I think there's a video playing Dark Night of the Soul that shows my hands. You probably have to search for it on YouTube,
Okay.
but there's some of those videos out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
so it sounds like both hands are completely occupied, but then I hear these booming bass notes, and I'm pretty,
Yeah.
well, how are you doing those? Is there a third hand here
Third
somewhere?
hand. Yeah, third hand.
Yeah, third hand.
It's all smoke and mirrors. What's
Yeah.
next for you, Philip, in terms of do you have some new projects coming up or any new CDs you're working on or whatever?
It's funny. Back in 2019, I did my last tour. I did it like an East Coast tour, and then I was like, you know what? In 2020, I'm going to do some more traveling, and I might work on a new album. And then COVID hit,
Right, right.
and everything locked down. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to sit on the couch, and
Mm.
I just decided to take a break from music. And then after things started to lift from COVID, I started doing more traveling. I kind of got the travel bug, and I've been
Mm.
doing a lot of traveling.
Oh, great.
And those that follow me on social media will probably see some of my posts. I've been to like Greece, Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, out
Wow.
in Greenland, Canada. I mean, it's just been so much fun. So who knows? That might inspire some new music.
I
And
was going to say, yeah, that sounds inspiring.
thinking about
Wonderful.
doing more digital singles, but
Yes.
start focusing on singles because that
Yeah,
seems a little bit easier to release through.
sure. Well, you getting people that are asking if you'll play in Fort Myers or New York City or Albany, New York? There's people trying to get you to play in these different places. Are you
At
play?
Las Vegas, Nevada. You're on
You have
my
any
bucket
tours?
list.
Yeah,
You're on
Okay.
I
my
know.
bucket
I
list.
did a benefit concert for one of the local food banks here where I live, and
Mhm.
somebody in Arizona asked. They said, "When are you coming back to Arizona?" Because I played there several years. And I said, "Well, I don't have any plans for Arizona, but I'm a house concert. You want to come to my living room?" And they said, "Okay, I'm there." And they hopped a plane and came all the way from, I think it was Phoenix.
Wow.
Oh my
Well,
God.
I'm going
Yeah.
to send you the chat because there's lots of great ideas about where you could travel. In fact, Jennifer's saying come to Seattle.
Yeah, I've been
Demetrios
known I've been
saying,
known to open my home for house concerts. So if anybody wants to come to Nashville,
there you go. There
I,
you
I
go.
drive cross country sometimes, so if I come through Nashville, because you are on my bucket list, before I die, I want to see you play Dark Night of the Soul in
In
person.
person. Oh
That's
my
on
God.
my bucket list. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for everyone for your time tonight. Thank you, Philip, for joining us. I really appreciate this time. Your music is just wonderful. As you can tell, it really moves people. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't on the call tonight that are going to see the archives and absolutely enjoy this. So thank you all for coming tonight. I hope that you come to one of my other events at composerscorner.com. But Philip, I'm going to keep looking at your website and listening to beautiful music and YouTube and all of that. And I can't thank you enough for coming tonight. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Bye.